So in this week's Torah portion, it's yet another installment of the Israelite saga of wandering through the desert, through the wilderness. They're caught in limbo between the slavery of Egypt and the freedom that's promised to them eventually in the land of Israel. This week we have the tale of Balak, Balaam, and the talking donkey. The first place my mind goes, I don't know about you, when I think of a talking donkey is Eddie.
Of course, right?
No, that's where yours went.
That's before his time.
What are you talking about? Anyone else's mind go to Eddie Murphy, Donkey, Shrek? Thank you. So you remember, 'cause I'm all alone, there's no one here beside me, but you gotta have friends. Stop singing. Remember the Shrek and Donkey, talking donkey, and then the donkey saying, can I stay with you? We'll stay up late, swapping manly stories, and in the morning, waffles. I'm making waffles. Yeah. So, of course, there's more to this talking donkey story than just the fact of its unlikely and incessant speech. Like the talking donkey that we'll meet in the Torah in just a few moments, Eddie Murphy's donkey is a key player in the story of Shrek that moves the plot along, allowing its main character to change and grow. Our Parsha this week also portrays a quest of sorts, featuring talking donkeys. The Parsha begins with two people whose names both begin with B. There's Balak, who's the king of Moab. That's how I remember he's the king of Moab. Balak, king. And Balaam, who's a person we don't really know his origins. In fact, his name in Hebrew, Bilam, it means something like no people or without a people. Suffice it to say that he was known as a fortune teller and a sort of psychic. Balak, the king of Moab, in his fear and loathing of the numerous Israelites, seeks to bring divine punishment over them and so bribes Bilam to put a curse on them. On the way to curse the Israelites, an angel of God appears on the road, and Bilam's donkey swerves to avoid running into it. This injures Bilam's foot and angers him to the point that he abuses the donkey, beating it with a stick and injuring it. Here's the talking donkey portion of this story. Since Balaam could not see the angel of God standing in the way, this caused the donkey to swerve and threw Balaam off. And after she's beaten by the stick unfairly, the donkey speaks, saying to Balaam, "Why are you beating me? I'm your loyal steed," she seems to say. "I would never cause you any harm. I was just trying to prevent us from crashing into the angel." At this point, the angel appears to Balaam, and he sees what he missed. And the angel reveals that he would have killed Balaam had the donkey not swerved off the road. So at this point, sobered and fearful, Balaam tells the angel that he'll turn back from his mission to go curse the Israelites. But the angel answers, "No, I want you to go forward, go with Balak, continue on your mission, but you can only say the words that I speak through you." So Balaam arrives at an observation point high above the Israelites' encampment. And he starts to curse the Israelites, but he can't get the curse words out. 3 out of the 3 times Balaam tries to curse the Israelites, but Balaam can only speak words of blessing. On each attempt, Balak is infuriated and changes the terms. He even ups the ante, ups the payment for Balaam to curse them. But in the end, he's 0 for 3. When they finally go their separate ways, Balaam leaves Balak with some final words saying, "Watch out for those Israelites. They will triumph over their enemies." On the surface, the story of Balaam as presented in the Torah paints him as a prophet who could only say nice things about the Israelites. Good things such as, "I see them from the mountaintops. I gaze on them from the heights. Who can count them? Who can number them?" And, "Lo, a people that rises like a lioness, leaps up like a lion, rests not till it has feasted on prey and drunk the blood of the slain." And, "How fair are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel. They shall devour enemy nations, crush their bones, smash their arrows." The early rabbis of our tradition interpret the blessings that I just read somewhat differently than they appear on the surface. Our rabbis aren't quick to accept Balaam's blessings and actually see him as somewhat devious and sinister, calling him Bilam HaRasha, the evil Balaam. In Pirkei Avot, which is an insightful book of early rabbinic teachings, our rabbis differentiate the qualities of a righteous person and an evil person, saying, disciples of Abraham, our forefather, have a good eye, humble spirit, and moderate appetite. On the contrary, disciples of Balaam, the wicked one, have an evil eye, a haughty spirit, and a limitless appetite. So what exactly is evil about Balaam's character? Some say that it was the bribery. Despite initial resistance, he did take a paid job from a king to condemn the Israelites to a curse, selling out his prophetic abilities to world leaders. Others say his evilness is due to his ignorance of God's presence in the road and in the wider world. Then there's the 20th century philosopher Martin Buber, who continues this rabbinic ambivalence, noting that Balaam remains detached and aloof, never engaging others, exercising no will of his own, remaining, Buber says, a common magician. So what are we supposed to make of these not blessing blessings? Balaam said all these nice things about the strength and resilience of the Israelites. Why shouldn't we listen to them, at least for morale? In Balaam's third attempt to curse the Jews, he speaks these words, which might be familiar, recognizable to you from our morning services. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. How fair are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel. Rashi teaches that there was something slightly off about the physical Israelite encampment that made Balaam notice something peculiar and say this blessing. That their tents were not lined up in a row, listen to this, but rather each one was askew. Each tent was askew, creating a small but noticeable distance between each dwelling, following what Rashi calls a unique moral principle that guarantees privacy for each home. An early 20th century British rabbi, Joseph Hertz, takes it further, teaching that the tents that Balaam saw were tents of Torah, and the dwellings are their synagogues. When Balaam was praising the tents and the dwellings, midrashically, the tent here can refer to the enclosure and gathering space that the Torah provides, and the dwellings refer to the structures where the Torah can be explored, in other words, the study hall, the adult education. While Balaam may have meant his praise for the Israelites themselves, it has come to embody the enthusiasm that we Jews have for our synagogues, schools, and homes. Ultimately, I'm afraid to say, we can't know exactly what to make of this story of Balaam, and the talking donkey. But without exploring, there would be no manifestation of the Israelites' purpose in the world. And I would suggest that the Israelites themselves are responsible for recognizing the blessing and the curse of their existence. This dichotomy is one that all people, harbor within us and yearn to sort out over a lifetime. The story of Balaam's blessing and non-blessings ought to wake us up to our calling, to articulate our purpose and our outlook on our own terms, unmediated. Like Balaam's donkey, Eddie Murphy's donkey aids in the plot development and advances the story, not actually toward a fairy tale ending, but toward more truth, more complexity, and more understanding. I see in this week's Parsha a blessing and a curse. A blessing that we have a robust tradition in which to situate ourselves, and a curse in that others might, from time to time, in an unabashed lack of compassion, relegate us to a prefabricated and sometimes preposterous fate. Wisdom and discernment are the tools we need to use in the embrace of our tradition, in our synagogues, in our study halls, and in our homes. Ultimately, it isn't God or donkeys or even prophets that can dictate our ways, but it's on us. Shabbat shalom.